Podcast 5. Test Podcast 5. Hair looks good. Walk the dog. Did what we needed to do. Alright. Was gonna wake up and go shooting today. Did not. I had a young man who had a sleepover whose father stated he did not want him to go shooting with us to learn. He wanted to learn how to shoot from his stepfather. He didn't like indoor ranges, and therefore he asked us not to take him shooting, which is fine. It's strange. Here, Colorado, Florida, Colorado, wherever I've been shooting, we've taken probably a dozen kids, Trevor, Jeffrey, their friends, and we've never had a problem. And I've met probably a quarter of the parents. So, that's good. It's good that this stepfather said, no, I don't want you to go. I will teach him. I want to be present. And I was surprised when I thought about it. At first I was a bit put off, like, what? And I get it. Though I've met the man. I've dropped the boy off. Whatever. And he said no. And then I thought about it and I said, boy, of all the kids I've taken, so many parents let their children go to a firing range with not a stranger, but a child acquaintance, not a parental friend, neighbor or acquaintance, which is strange. So good. So we won't go. Fights last night. UFC 230. Cormier won, of course, second round choke out on the Black Beast. I didn't watch any of them. I looked at the card. Jacare beat Chris Weidman. I love Chris Weidman with his Anderson Silva wins. I don't know what he's doing. He reminds me of Matt Serra. I'm not saying a one-hit wonder. When Matt Serra caught GSP and just shocked the world. I think Matt Serra, a little fire plug with some power and some skills. I think Weidman's a bit more rounded than he was. He's got better striking, better stand-up. And of course, world-class wrestler. NCAA or whatever Chris Weidman was in New York. But never thought he was great, though I'll tell you what, I'm super stupid critical. I've seen every fight. I watch all the fights. I didn't watch these. The bio, I watched the up-and-coming, up-and-coming. I saw the Road to 230, whatever it is, the preview, and they showed the Black Beast, and man, has that dude mauled some cats. And then they showed him running up wherever the hell he was at. It was a city, I don't know where. It didn't look like Albuquerque, or it looked like somewhere like Atlanta, or I don't know, KC or somewhere, because it had an old garage and he was doing sprints up the entrance ramp. Awesome. He's a big man and he was hustling. They had a drone. Cool. And that's good to see, and he said it right in the ring after he knocked out Volkov at the last moment, and he seems to be quite entertaining. He said, I got to put in some cardio. And he did, and of course, Cormier's spot on. Cormier's he's a realist. I think the only enigma in Daniel Cormier's life career, maybe the gold medal, because I don't think he gold medaled. And who does? Give me a break, dude. You gold medal in wrestling, you're a generation leader, Regardless what it is. Greco-Roman, freestyle, whatever the hell it is. Same with judo, same with any of those, any combat Olympic sport. If you go gold medal in that, it's far from a fluke. You're usually the generational legend. We know them. Russia's had a lot. The U.S. has had a few. Foxcatcher, the brothers, yeah, who really do well. And Cormier, I think Jon Jones is the only blemish or enigma in his career. And Jon Jones is exceptional. Now we got the Jon Jones-Gustafsson fight. Gustafsson, whatever. It's not going to be a fight. Jones admitted in this recent, presser that he was running and gunning and partying like a freak in prep. And he still beat him even though he went into deep waters. And Gustafsson said, well, yeah, I won that one. And Jones said, well, did you win the one against, and he put about 4 different names out there that had beaten him, that Jones had beaten. So, doesn't really matter. It's so difficult to see the blemishes that Jon Jones has put on his career outside of the sport. And I'll tell you, if it were simply steroid use, who cares? This whole steroid thing, this whole Bay Area, the whole start of the industrial steroid progressive push, whatever it was, and what the Russians and the Japanese and whomever, I'm sure every major nation, regardless of USADA or any of these stupid groups or Jeff Nowitzki, the golden snitch as Schaub calls him, the drive to win is greater than any other drive, and it's clearly greater than fairness. When one wins and one is fair and it's sheer skill and excellence, that's great to celebrate. But the drive to win, it supersedes all, and we've seen that so many times. We've seen that with, the Olympics. We've seen that with professional sport. We've seen that with amateur sport. We see that with high school sport. We see that with kids now. Larry Wheels just did a video on steroids. I mean, a kid from a tough upbringing in New York who started doing drugs, ran into a role model. The role model was doing drugs, but the role model was doing steroids too. At a gym where Larry found some kind of structure and peace and life in weightlifting, bodybuilding, powerlifting. And so that's what he pursued. And it led to heavy drug use, but it also led to steroid use. And somewhere along the line, 16, 17, 18, he's like, I got to cut this bad living out. And he focused on bodybuilding and powerlifting, steroids. And he's a freak at 21, 22, 23, whatever he is. He's going to get injured, but he's probably going to break records across the powerlifting realm. I don't know if he'll ever get into bodybuilding. He's got a massive physique. He seems like a very genuine, friendly dude. He's got a couple characters. Big giant black dude with the frickin' dyed faux hawk. This other big giant black dude, shaved head, who trains with them. And they just look real. They look real. They're killing it. And let's hope he makes a ton of money on YouTube or whatever. And he figures it out. And it doesn't kill him. And he doesn't have a catastrophic injury. Because he's moving iron, and I watched him move iron 6, 7, 8, 900 pounds, and he's fast. Benching like up and down. I mean, that kid is young muscle. And that'll have to change. Technique sometimes is going to have to kick in and override, especially as he gets to these epic weight classes that he's moving. 1,000 pounds for bench and all that junk, and I'm sure he'll get there. But, yeah, man, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. And Cormier, he wants to win, but he's pretty fair. And he's always talked about that. And Jon Jones is one of the greatest ever, but God bless. It's not just steroids. He was running and gunning and smoking and joking, rolling like a raven, like his crazy brothers or whatever. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I get it. Those dudes roll dirty. You know, Ray Lewis in the Super Bowl with his entourage and the limo and people getting killed. I get it. Look at Hernandez. And that's a crazy story, dude. Oh, that guy just... What a strange life. If it's not going to be the #1 hit Lifetime movie, it will be soon. If it hasn't been. Because he was a character. And hell, he could play football. Just because you can play great football or you can do something great doesn't mean that you don't have this other dynamic, these other characteristics or personality traits that could be destructive or unreal. Hell, we just talked about Alex Honnold. Combination of character traits that he honed all in conjunction to climb a granite rock face. There's my dog. Granite rock face, 3,000 feet, right? After 20 years without a rope. You know, it's how you apply it. That's always the case. Derek Lewis's history, you look through his fight history, he's a mauler. And I'm glad. I think he'll be around for a while, and it's good to see. If he tightens it up, which is so hard to do. It's hard to rise up and be elite. You have to clean up your life dramatically. You have to have dedication and focus. You have to remove distractions. And nowadays, all we're filled with in the world is distractions. I walked the dog with my wife and we were talking about that. That's all it is anymore. Trump has created this disruptive environment. And he didn't. He's just the point of the spear right now. Because he got elected. This multi-decade ongoing path that we followed has finally come to a head or a break or a challenge. You know, and it's so weird now. Where perspectives and what's true, what's not true, and rules don't apply anymore. People are making their own rules. And there isn't really a mechanism in place anymore to manage a lot of it. You know, right? Slander and, hey, that's not truthful. And you got people, we've still got total institutions and fundamental structures that fact check and do all kinds of things, but it doesn't really matter. It's like a free-for-all, which is cool. Disruption is needed. I mean, hell, you got to shake up institutions. We were stagnating. And turning into what every other great historical world leader had done. They grow complacent, they grow stale, they grow old, and ultimately they die. Or some form of death. Like, you know, Japan or the French or the Spanish or the Greeks and the Romans. Unfortunately for us, it's nothing like an atomic attack. Much like the Mayans or the Incans or the Aztec tribes, or the American Indian or whatever, where smallpox or invaders or whatever occurred and eradicated these societies. Wouldn't that be strange? Eradication of the United States of America. Ooh. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Maybe not in my time, but who the hell knows? We never know. We got movies about it all the time. Asteroid! Big asteroid hits us. Over global warming. Hey! What was the one with Dennis Quaid? Yeah, the world froze or whatever. When in fact it seems like everything else is true. And there's the polarization of what's true and what's not true. You don't have to pick a side, and you don't have to be some kind of eco-warrior, or you don't have to be a combatant. You can just speak the truth and understand and try to share that without violence, without anger. And I don't know if it'll do anything. Sooner or later, I think it will. I just read a story where the Japanese have, fished out this squid that they love. And they can't even eat it anymore, and the price of it's astronomical, and it was aggressive fishing, and it's been tidal warming around the islands, and they're all bummed because the Japanese live purposeful lives. So you had these individuals in these towns, Hokkaido, who, on Hokkaido, I think, they were specialists in this squid for 100 years. The black ink squid soup or the squid itself, and they became experts like the sake brewers or the sushi chefs or whatever. And this thing's gone. They don't make it anymore, and everybody's bummed because it was the sweet and salty squid or whatever the hell it's called. And you're like, eh. And you read the article, I don't know what it was in, the New Yorker or something, and there's this component of surprise, like, oh God. And I feel like saying, what'd you expect? You kept jumping in your ships. So I think like last year, year before, they took 500,000 ton of squid. And then last year it was 200,000 ton, and this year it's projected to be 100,000 ton, and they've already looked where it's going to be 50,000 ton. So of course, diminishing supply, the cost goes up, and now you got people concerned about the endangerment or whatever, and it's sort of strange. But yeah, UFC 230's over, so that's that. The clocks, we changed the clocks, so that's good too. Daylight savings, the only place, well, you know what? There were a number of fatal incidents at bus stops around the country in recent months, and I bet you for your media warriors, it re-stimulated just how important daylight savings is, because of the heightened danger that 15 or 20 or 7 or 25 kids got killed at bus stops. And it was because primarily it's dark. You have individuals driving in the dark and children inadvertently standing on street corners, doing what children do, playing around a curb, whatever. Dude, and you get these narratives, these stories, and then we change the law. Or we change the clock, or we change time. We're the only country on the planet that does daylight savings. It's so weird. I don't know. Maybe we're smarter than everybody. We're the greatest country in the world. Anyway, so that's gone on. Also, I'm working on some editing, and GarageBand is not the software for editing. Maybe audio, which it seems like it's pretty decent, and it does. The audio tracks look like they line up pretty well. Not movies, and it seems like iMovie, which I forgot. And then I've got the newest version. I had the 9.0.9 or whatever. Now I'm looking at the new version, where you have the on the upper right hand side. You've got the video playing. You've got down below your clips running. You've got your import media and your files. Upper left hand side. Yeah. So I think that's going to be the tool to produce whatever I'm producing. So we'll see about that. Cover art, intros and outros, maybe some overlays. Dude, I'm starting to understand some of this stuff. It's not rocket surgery. And hey, I put a new light up. I've got the new Medallion Light hanging over the island. I almost died. There were sparks and lightning shooting out. My voltmeter, it turned black, and it almost killed me. Shocked Tracy and Jeffrey. They stood there and looked at me and said, maybe we don't need the light. And I'm like, no. I'm not very smart, but I'm going to figure this light out. Yeah, there's a switch on the wall. It's got a hot line up there that's black that you can't touch that leads to that box. So they run the hot line to that box from wherever the line comes off of the panel or whatnot. And then they do a loop from the switch. And the switch actually opens or closes the circuit down there, and it's on a red line. It's on a red run, which I'm no electrician. I don't understand electricians. I don't understand electrical wiring or whatever, but I get that, and I've understood it, and I looked it up. So you got to run the switch off the red line, and you just keep the black line capped up there in the box. So, learned that one. Zapped my finger, zapped the voltmeter, almost fell off the island on my head. I remember being about 10 or 12 when my father was jacking around in the basement. He had rewired the entire attic. He'd run boxes and main wire runs in the framing and then he drywalled a lot of it. Never finished it. Did a lot of work. Well, man, smart, right? His father's extraordinarily smart. His father renovated or perfected the Nabisco ovens so that they could bake the shredded wheat. They weren't baking at an intensity and a dryness, a temperature, an intensity, temperature, dryness, whatever the fundamental process was. His dad went to Lehigh, was an electrical engineer or something, some kind of engineer. And he perfected the oven so that it baked at a temperature and a convection, some kind of flow or whatnot at that temperature, so that the shredded wheat would puff and raise without burning, because they were cooking, but in the time frame it took for them to raise, to puff, it would burn the wheat on the outside. So he made some awesome oven. I don't know if he got money for it. I'm sure he got some kind of good money for it. I'm sure Nabisco had the patent or whatnot. I don't know how all that worked. But yeah, that was Grandpa DY. So my old man knew, so he ran stuff, but he was in the basement at 634 7th Street, which just burned down this year. I think on Halloween, October 31st. Somebody had a clip out from the local news. It was my brother or my sister, Doug or Mimi or someone, and Cindy copied it. And my sister Chris said, "Oh, that's a shame." And fire blowing out the top floor, the attic, whatever, the house is burned. So who knows what would happen there, don't even care. But anyway, he was down in the basement, which was also semi-finished, mostly unfinished. You could see all the framing and support poles and whatnot. And he was screwing around next to, when you walked in the basement, there was a door immediately to the left that we hung a chin-up bar on, one of the kind like a shower curtain rod that you'd screw in, but it was a metal bar. And you could chin up there. And there was a box up there, and I remember him messing with it, and I heard the pop, and the lights in the basement went off, and I could smell the ozone. And I heard, my father did not swear until my brother Douglas was older, 16, 17, 18, and started to use severe profanity. The F word. The only thing my father would say would be, "God damn it, God damn it." Oh, was he cussing, shaking his finger, motherfucker. The lights were out. You could smell stuff burning, maybe some hair or some flesh. Oh, I remember that. And I'm like, doesn't seem like Dad knows how to do the electricity that well. And I just did it over on that island, and I almost fell off, so I jumped, and it's about 3.5 feet up, and I'm 250 pounds, and I landed like a big fat retard. Dude, I don't need this. I'm 49 years old. But there it is, pendant light. And it looks good, and it works off the other switch. I had Tracy hit the switches. Here's the genius. I had Tracy hitting the switches. I'm like, none of these switches. She walks over to that one and goes, "Hey, how about this one right next to it?" Click, turned on. Yeah. So, accomplishment for that. Anyway, daylight savings and the UFC and no shooty today, and I don't know, Riki in the dog park. We'll have to see how that goes. It's humid and warm today out here in southern Florida, and so I don't know what else we'll do or what's going on. But as I said, I'm starting to bring together the GarageBand, not so good. iMovie seems to be good. I've worked in iMovie before. Jeffrey and I worked on his presentations in high school or in grade school, and clearly it's better now. And I'm finding that on the GoPro Hero 4 Silver GoPro, awesome. It saves the clips as MP4s every 11 minutes, 50 seconds. And so you have to combine the clips if you want to make a continuous video. Yes. So I'm working on that. Working on cover art on artwork and intros and outros, as I said. Some music, what have you. I don't know about overlays, whatever I'm talking about. Maybe I'll do some cool overlays and just stick some pictures in and talk about nonsense and show like a camera or a cloud or somebody's face. I don't know. But I babble. What else is going on in the world? I don't know. Elections are coming up here soon. Today, yeah, a few days. we'll have to see how that goes with the November run. I think the polling location is here in the community, and you can go up to the clubhouse. I told Tracy she's got to vote. She needs to get out and rock the vote. So, but apparently it's, well, it's not apparent. I think they've tested walking up to the ballot here, and we have Ballot A and Ballot B. Ballot A has all the candidates on it, front and back, for Attorney General, for Sheriff, for Senate, for House, Governor, Senator, for, there's a ton, man. Big ballot. And then Ballot B has all these amendment changes through 15. There's Amendment 10, there's Amendment 11, 13, 15, and they want a mill tax down here to hire more sheriffs, to pay for more school stuff. We just passed a mill tax last election so that the public schools here take a penny for 1 or 2 or $3 billion over 10 years. They just bought a new fleet of buses for $25 million. I mean, and there's money down here, but yeah, more taxes. So I voted no on that. I'm sure I'll catch shit from the Sheriff's Association, or whomever it's for, or whatever it's about. I don't even want to go over it right now, but there's 15 of those, so there's a Ballot B front and back. You walk into the terminal, the voting terminal, voting station, whatever it's called, and they're saying that on average, people that are even prepared are taking 13 to 15 minutes to trigger all their votes. And if you're not prepared, and you've briefly looked over, or you haven't looked over at all, and you simply walk to your voting location, pick up your A and B ballot instructions, walk up to the voting station, and then sit there for a half hour reading through or figuring out, or maybe 5 minutes, 2 minutes. You go, yes, 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 Republican, 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 no, 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 I don't know. SATs, or some kind of, remember the pencil bubble test. So who the heck knows? But it seems like the response has been awesome nationally. A lot more young people, a lot more female presence. I think a lot more minority, non-white, non-male, a lot more controversy. I think Drudge is calling for an 85% turn in the House and 15 to 16% turn in the Senate for the Dems. This is not new. Every one of our past presidents during their term has lost control of one of the houses, and so this isn't a big deal. It is what it is. It'll just be another wrinkle for the Trumpenstein. He got some stuff done, but even when they owned all of Congress, still didn't get everything they needed to get done, or everything we thought they needed to get done. Who knows? Like I said in prior podcasts, it seems like this economic boom is fictitious. Low interest rates and whatnot. It's not really driven off of exports and industry or whatever. And now the housing market's starting to tighten up. Interest rates going up. So we'll have to see how all that goes, which is good. Yeah. What else is going on? Football? I don't know. I'm trying to follow it. Yeah. Baseball's over. All hail the Boston Red Sox. Basketball? Yeah. I'm still trying to manage the cigarette or the drugstore beetles in the house. Went out and bought new bins for food. We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah. That's about the size of it. I don't have any other topics at present. We'll see. Maybe I'll have another topic. Out.